have a run rate for this year for Odier, sell just over 4 million. My goal is to meet our excessive goal and exceed it. And you have to be planning and budgeting for you don't hit your goal, what do you do? That's where as business owners, we should be focusing on working on the business and that marketing plan for the next sales season. And we should be spending the time on how do we ramp up? How do we take that data and make it better? And we just start systemizing everything. We can make this thing go really fast.
What's going on, guys? I'm joined today by David Mulcahy. David's based out of Massachusetts and absolutely crushing it with his businesses. So really excited to dive into it, but thank you for hopping on today, David.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Michael. I look forward to sharing my business experience with everyone and hopefully dropping some golden nuggets.
Absolutely. Well, that leads us into the first point, which is, do you mind just kind of sharing your background and what businesses you're actually a part of currently?
Yeah, so 2014, I opened my first location of Odier. Based on South Shore, Massachusetts. We offer all natural deer, tick, and mosquito control. 2014, I opened my second location, 2016, I opened my second location, which is Cape Cod. And then I also own Ghost Scoopers, which is a pet waste management company. So my goal is exterior home services on a recurring rate, whether it's monthly, weekly, but the goal is recurring services.
Awesome. So with both business models, it is a recurring based model, right?
Yeah. So we have those one-off jobs and we take them, but they're priced accordingly. But the goal is to get folks on a system where we're showing up. They're getting used to us showing up, but we're controlling. So for tick and mosquito, we have to be controlling every 4 weeks. If you do a one-off and then you come back, you're not going to get the control because you're always getting reintroduction of pests into the property. And the goal is for our customers to enjoy more time outside. So that's recurring spring through fall. The deer control is we're breaking that into a 3-week segment where folks are, we're spraying the plants in which deer feed on, and then it breaks their feeding pattern, but it's a continual thing. We're trying to tame nature's beast and they're going to eat when they need to. So if we spray every 4 weeks, the product breaks down too fast and it has weather resistance and all that stuff. And then the pet waste management most commonly is a weekly service. We get some that are bi-weekly, and then we get our one-off cleanups where, someone just inherited a house or bought a house and the homeowners didn't clean it up, or there's a big, party and we just didn't have time to do it.
Gotcha. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. Having that subscription-based model makes it really easy because I imagine you guys have good retention rate and you don't need to fight for new customers like a lot of business models. You do need to do that. So is that kind of like the play for you guys, is you're focused on retention and not so much acquiring new customers?
So it's both. I have I'm very aggressive with my growth strategies for all of my businesses where I want them to grow as fast as we possibly can and provide the same level of customer service. And everyone out there is going to say, we've got the best customer service. So if we can maintain the same level of customer service, that's my goal. With the recurring, we look at it, and a lot of recurring, like pest control, is like a 65% retention rate. We continually, year over year, having the 90 retention rate. So we get to, say we bring on 100,000, we're going to, of dollars, we're going to maintain 92, 93,000 of that the next year. So for us to scale, it's how do we find the next 100,000? It's not how do we find 200,000 now. So that makes it we don't have to worry about that first 100, but we still have to service them. And it goes into capacity and understanding how many vehicles we have, how many employees we're going to return, where I'm somewhat envious of like one-off services where if you have no employees, you can kind of open the schedule up and say, we're just not going to work this week, which isn't a good business move, but we can say, we just don't have enough employees to get the work done. For us, the work doesn't stop. And if we miss a day to weather, we have to figure out how to get that day back in the schedule. Otherwise, we're going to lose massive capacity. Our clients won't be in control, or they're going to step in a pile of, man's best friend's lunch. So there's pros and cons to it, but yeah, there's definitely we know if we bill out 100,000 for the year, next year we're starting at 92. So how do we add on to that? So I'm not always looking for my next meal. I'm looking for the next relationship we're going to have.
That's a very good point. Thinking about it when we spoke last time, the fact that you have such good retention rate and this recurring work, it's just about guaranteed work, and it definitely does have that relief of stress. But then you're right, like when you do have that weather where, let's just say it snows or something, and then you're out for a couple of days, then that could cause a huge headache in trying to resolve that.
So it snows, it rain. I mean, rain is our biggest enemy in any of my businesses. If it's pet waste management, it gets wet, it's messy to pick up. If it's taking mosquito and deer control, we can't service. So we're sidelined. So then you go into, well, how many vehicles do I need to have to service the area with rain days included? And how many people do I need, counting we're going to get rain, but not carrying more people than you need? So there's a very fine line of having enough equipment, having metal sitting in the garage or in the driveway that's not being used, but then we need it for X amount of days a year. So what are we going to sacrifice? Are we going to sacrifice income and customers not being happy, or are we going to sacrifice a little bit of net profit and have an expense that's not necessarily producing, but we never have to say no? Where if you're in a single, like a one-off service business or an annual once a year type of thing, is you don't necessarily need extra vehicles to meet capacity, because you can move things around and you can say, well, we'll just do it Saturday, or we can. So that there's definitely a balance there.
Like you said, even if it's twice a year, once a year, you can kind of play with the dates and do that just about any time. But with the models that you're in, it has to be within that time frame. So you don't really have that flexibility of kind of just moving it to the end of the schedule. Nonetheless, I mean, every business model has its pros and cons, and it seems like I guess the predictable growth is really cool about what you guys do. Also, just the fact that you can retain customers and get so much more out of them than in a lot of business models. So you said you guys have like an above 90% retention rate, which is really good. What would you say has led to you guys having such a high retention rate?
So it comes back to when I was in the truck, 2014. I started with, everyone has a story about the beater that they bought. They polished it up as nice as they possibly could. And we started with that, and it was 56 or 58 clients that we started with. And it was service them at the highest level. If they call, they have a problem, go back out. We're talking about ticks and mosquitoes. We're talking about thresholds across the board. One mosquito for someone is going to be really annoying. 20, 30 for another person isn't going to be bad. Well, before we used you, we couldn't be out after 5 p.m. Now we can get out after 8 p.m. So we're giving them 3 hours extra a day. So when I started to scale and I started to really look at bringing on employees and saying, okay, I can't do all of the work, here's the deal, guys. If they ask you to do something and it's not going to take you a long time, can you just do it? If you feel like it's out of the norm, then question it. But if they ask you to move patio furniture for them, don't do that. But if they say, hey, do you mind picking up the Frisbee as you walk by? Do it. When we see a water source on a property, we empty it. So a bird bath, we empty it, and then we tell them to fill it back up. We see a tire, we flip it over, get rid of the water. It's just these common decencies of going above and beyond and not stressing about, we've got to get to the next job. We have to hit our capacity. And we continually train that. And now we have much better KPIs for our technicians of, hitting these numbers and how they work with employees and how they work with customers. But if we treat everyone as if they were the first 54 and we depended on every single dollar we did that year, and we run our business as we depend on every single dollar, there's no slack in it, you're going to create this lovely form of people that want to be your loyal apostles and tell everyone about you, that you guys go above and beyond. So it's been consistent growth, but knowing and going above and beating the competition. And what I mean by beating the competition, it's not on price. It's not on showing up, within 20 minutes of the call. It's filling the gaps where they don't meet. So a great resource we did, I want to say probably year 3 or 4, is we went into Google and we started to search our competition and look at their bad reviews. We know good reviews, right? Everyone's seen a good review. Technician showed up, did the service, it was great. No more mosquitoes. No more moths on the house, whatever it might be. The bad reviews didn't let us know that when they were coming, left gates open, wasn't friendly, missed service areas, ran over, destroyed landscape lighting. So what we did is we found their problems and we solved them, and we built the training to solve the problems that they have created. So then our clients don't have those problems, or most of them don't.
Wow, that is a great strategy. So you're going to all your competitors, checking their Google, looking for the negative reviews, and you're just doing the complete opposite of that. And I'm sure you guys probably even noticed some recurring themes with the reviews that maybe you like work into your sales process, so the customer knows like this is something that you guys are proactive about and will help them with, like depending on what the negative review was.
Yeah, I mean, here's I guess the gist of it is the customers in the community are telling you what they want through a negative review. We all know that they want you to show up on time, dress appropriately, be kind, right? But then what are the things that really annoy everyone? They show up at 6 a.m. Okay, so we don't do that. They're out on Sundays. Okay, so we won't do that. Are we perfect at it? Absolutely not. We're always learning. But if we control those if we can take their negative reviews and create a positive environment for us to work in and use them as a gain for us, why not? Everyone, this is just a takeaway for everyone. Go on Google, search your competition, whether they're locally or I would say in an hour radius, in whatever industry you're in, and find the problem. And there's only going to be like 5 or 6 problems, and they're going to repeat and repeat and repeat. Solve them. There you go.
That's awesome. That's literally something anyone watching this can do immediately. They can immediately go check businesses near them and start checking those reviews and act on it. For the most part, act on those things right away and start being proactive and making sure they're really trying to focus on providing a great experience based on the negative experiences they had. So that is great. So you guys are really focused on obviously providing a very good quality service, but as businesses scale, they tend to lose sight of that relationship and those little things, like you said, picking up the frisbee, stuff like that. They kind of lose sight of that, and they're just trying to be quick in and out and go to the next job. But you guys, as you scale, you're keeping the emphasis on providing that very, very good relationship and that very good quality service.
Yeah, and when we got tripped up on this in 2019, when we were 2020. COVID's happening. We're all running around. No one can find employees. It's mayhem, and everyone wants home services. You can't buy trucks. You can't this. And when I said in 2019, I said to my operations manager at the time, "You will not see me in the field, and you will not see me pick up a phone call." The problem was, and he had come through as a technician and raised up through it, and then I had a kind of a semi customer service technician at the same time. I didn't write anything down. So when we went to that house that we used the right gate and not the left gate, that was not written down. I told people, and I told the technicians at the time, hey, make sure when you go to this house, use the right gate, not the left gate. But then when we brought on new people and I stopped being that main point of contact, that information never got passed on. So we had to go back and start putting all of this information into our CRM, in our notes, in our flags, service notifications, whatever it is. When you go to this house, the technician looks at it and says, okay, use right gate. They're always using the right gate. And that could be for anything. It could be for any of our services. It could be, scheduling preferences. It could be across the board. Some folks tell me that their weekend starts Wednesday afternoon. They don't want us there after Wednesday at 3. It's okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh yeah, we're out of the house by 7. Make us the first stop. It's perfect. That solves it. You're out of the house by 7 o'clock. We'll be there at 7 o'clock. You'll never know we're there besides a door hanger. So getting some of that stuff out of my head took some time. But what I did is I didn't just rely on myself to do it. On the small nitty gritty stuff that really only I knew, I would write down. But if I needed sales scripts, I would ask my technicians to write a sales script, and then I would review it. Or what's your day like when you service a property? What do you do every single time you service a property? And they would write down, fill out door, pull in front of the house, fill out door hanger, get out, put the cones out, start the engine, go to the front door. They'd write it all down and send it to me. I would review it and approve it and say, yes, this is how we want it done. Or no, we need to make a change here. So all of a sudden, our training manual started to happen in 2020 in a deeper level than just we go spray ticks and mosquitoes.
So from 2016 to 2020 is when you guys were scaling, and as you scaled, you started to realize not necessarily the bottleneck, but an issue was that you're bringing on new employees that didn't know past data, past relationships, and that wasn't noted anywhere. You didn't have the SOPs or the notes written anywhere. So you started not only noting it yourself for those customers, but also just building out SOPs by having the people already doing those things build it out themselves.
Correct. And when we were going from that 14 to 20, there were some things that were written out, very few, but it was, let's just add a truck a year because we could with the recurring nature of it. It was, let's buy a truck, let's figure out how much we need to spend in marketing to fill that truck by June. And then we'll bring on more clients, but we're just going to go crazy after June if we bring on more clients. So from 2014 to 2020, we just did that every year. We just got crazier and busier. June hit, we just got busier and said, the season will be over in October and November. We can make it through. One more day. We did a day at a time, seriously. By August, it was like, just focus one more day. When we knew we had 90 days left in the season. 2020 hit, and it turned into, okay, everyone needs these services. It's hard to find employees. Let's keep hiring. So we started to hire through the year at that point. We started to write down systems. It was clunky, but then we went and aggressively bought vehicles, and we bought pretty much anything we could get our hands on. And we bought early enough. So we were very proactive of buying equipment and getting ahead of the curve of our capacity is going to be maxed. We're going to have to say no. So through COVID, we've never turned a client away, and we've always serviced them within 3 days of service, with 3 days of quote. And it's more impressive when you tell them at 1 o'clock, you'll be there in 3 business days, and at 4 o'clock, a truck rolls in, and Mrs. Jones is pulling in with the kids, and they go inside, and they're like, I thought it was 3 days. It's like, hey man, we're in the neighborhood, we can get you done right now. So with that proactive, we were able to 2020 was when we started to scale at a massive rate.
That's interesting. So a lot of people will wait for the growth and then they buy the trucks, the equipment, everything to handle that. But you predicted your growth and you're proactive in getting everything in place to make sure you didn't, get stuck once you did have the work.
Yeah, I was very much on the mindset of I'm going to sacrifice now for the benefit later. So my wife and I sacrificed 2014 realistically through 2022. And we just kept saying, no, we'll do it later. We had our oldest son in 2017, then we had another son in 2019. And in 2017, in June, I remember picking up the phone at 7 p.m. I just got in from a long day. 7 p.m. a phone rang. And I picked it up and I walked out on my deck and I sold the job and I came back in and I'm like, something's got to change. I'm doing phones, I'm doing service, equipment repair. I got a 3 or 4 month old at home. There's no help. My in-laws had to move in with us to help us out. I'm now sacrificing family time. And I looked at her and I said, there's got to be a change. And I'm going to figure out a change. And that's when we started to do virtual assistants and try and get other folks to answer the phone and take that burden of the phone will ring at any time, right? We don't know when it's going to ring. So get that burden of the phone out of the way so Dave can focus on what Dave needs to focus on to grow the business.
So I know a big thing for you is automations and kind of removing yourself from those, lower skilled tasks, those things that can be done by someone else. It doesn't need to be done by you. I guess, was there a turning point where suddenly you outsourced everything and now you could just focus on bigger picture stuff? Or did you kind of outsource one thing and then another and kind of slowly remove yourself from everything?
So in 2019, in October, I knew that there was going to be a major change in my business in 2019. So I decided to, in my opinion, New England's a very old Yankee type of area. It's dog eat dog. I'm not going to help you do what you need to have done. I'm not going to give you advice. It's changed a little bit in the last, say, 3 or 4 years, as I've gotten to just know better business people. But I just said, let me get out of New England. Let me start going to conferences that have nothing to do with pest control. So I went to a couple of conferences and found like, oh, this person knows about marketing. Great. Let me see what automation I can do. This person knows about system. Ooh, that could work. So I went back after those conferences and I met with my now general manager. And I said, hey, I don't know what this is going to look like, but if you stay this winter and we just start systemizing everything, we can make this thing go really fast. And it'll be an opportunity that I never thought I'd have, and I never thought I'd be able to give to you. And if it fails, it fails, and you can move on. But if you give me this winter, let's see how it goes. So that's what we did. We automated and systemized everything we can. In When was it? It was I had a phone call at the end of January 2020 about a software that would be a big change for our operations. And we made the decision that day to change softwares when our season was going to start April 30th. And we onboarded with that software Valentine's Day 2020, and we had it up and running within 45 days of understanding it. All clients moved over, how to schedule, how to sell, everything. And that software allows us to email, text, schedule more efficiently, batch payments. So all of a sudden it took 3 to 4 hours of work with that many clients, and turn it into like 20 minutes a day. So our customer service team, I ran a single person customer service team until this year. And last year we had somewhere around like the 3,800 to 4,200 services a month. And it was the customer service side was managed by one customer service rep. We have now added more because we found that we've met capacity on that. But with the technology, a $2-3 million company in the 80s, you needed multiple people to run the back end. With technology now, you don't. And I'm like the least tech person in the world. So I had to rely on others to be like, all right, this is what I'm trying to do. How do we do it? I don't want to have a lot of integrations. I want to have a better platform that manages this whole thing for me. And it was, is every platform perfect? No. There are some, you have to look at what's going to be the best for your needs, and being able to train on it. And that was like the launch of like, wow, we can really like text messaging. What's that? And I think everyone now texts clients, becoming a little harder due to regulations, but it was the Wild West from 2020 until 2023.
That in that time, it must have been super scary, just completely transferring everything over to another platform. So if you just thought the short term, you would probably think it's not worth it. It's too much headache, too much work. But thinking long term, you knew you were going to be way more efficient and it was going to help that much more, which is why you did it.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a pain in the neck. Like we were like, this is going to be atrocious. But to give you an idea, the software we were on, for us to reschedule the client from 1 year to another, was a minimum of 7 clicks on the mouse. You multiply that by 1,000 clients, you're at 7,000 clicks. Now, the season ends, they just get reset for the next year. So like we don't have to reschedule and reprioritize and rehash out how many we have to. This software does it for us. So that much clicks and hours is gone. Scary, yes, but having that gut feeling of the software we're with is a solid software, it just wasn't going to take us to where we needed to go or where I wanted it to go. And at that point, my goal was just, let's get to $1 million in revenue. And I was blown away by anything that I can double. I can go from 700 to 1.5 in a year. There's no way. And once you see that systems and understanding your capacity and your automations and what you can give to others, all of a sudden you can start hitting these goals that you think are wild dreams.
What's interesting through everything you're telling me, it seems like the bottleneck was never marketing. It seems like there's a ton of different bottlenecks that could have kind of made you less efficient, or finding employees made it hard to grow. But getting the customers in the first place, it sounds like always came easy to you.
So I remember in 2015, I did this was my marketing plan. It was EDDM valued at, so every door direct mail valued at $8,600. And the price to send an EDDM was 32 cents. Printed, I came up with the plan and I could afford 2 drops. Total of $8,600. I mailed it. All right. I had the company print and everything. I've never touched my EDDM besides the spreadsheets of like, this is where I want to send it. And I said, this is either going to work or I'm going broke. There was very little brand awareness of O'Deere where I was at the time. And I did enough research on the neighborhoods and the markets, and it worked. And I filled out my truck, and I said, great, that's what I wanted. And then I just continually, what I do with my marketing is you do not need to reinvent the wheel on marketing. What I like to do is I like to put tread on it. So if someone's doing EDDM twice a season for us, our sales season's 12 weeks, so it's very short. If they're doing it twice, let's get a little bit more granular with it, and let's do it 4 times. Let's just blow them out of water with volume, but then also hit them with every type of marketing we possibly can. So I didn't do Google until 2020. I did a little bit of Facebook before then. All of my stuff was print media and referral programs. So my referral program in the mosquito industry, it's typically $50 off. Why don't we just give a service to the person? So our current client who referred someone, they both get a service for free. Why am I going to give a better discount to a non-current client, random person off the street? Why wouldn't I give my current clients a better deal than them? Because a lot of people have, and you see it nationwide. We want your business. We want a new sign up. You're going to get this, this, and this. Well, I've been a client for 10 years. I didn't get any of that. So why don't we give our current clients that offer and say, you get the same thing as a new client if you refer someone. I might have it backwards, but it's worked really well for me. And it's one of these, like, you have to, everyone, you got to test and measure on marketing. We hear that over and over again, right? But there's also a gut feeling that you're going to be like, this is not going to work. And the things that are like, ooh, this ain't going to work, didn't work. So whether I put it on the app and I put it on the universe, or it was just like, oh, didn't work for our industry. Could be either one. But I have my main O'Deere location, South Shore. That marketing has been very, as most people would say, came easy. And then I have Cape Cod, which is a tourist destination. Most of the people don't live there. How do I get in touch with them? I've got to advertise not even in their area. I have to advertise 45 minutes away to actually where they live. So I have clients in Cape Cod that live in New York City, live in New Jersey, upstate New York, Maine, Florida. How do I get in touch with them? So there's been a different process to dive into what the marketing strategy is for Cape Cod, where for South Shore, it's getting now both of them. It's very much like, this is what we're doing on an annual basis. This is how we're going to do it. But I can't just go at it with one prong fork. I've got to do multi-prong, hit them every single way, and hit them in a drip sequence that we get. My goal is 7 touches in 3 weeks. And then repeat the 3 weeks. So it could be 12 weeks by the time they buy. They could be seeing us 21 plus times. So I probably will win on the buying aspect, even though I'm more expensive, which people will pay more money if you're overall a better company, you're providing a better service, you're getting them what they're really looking for, which for us, it's an all natural product.
So those 7 touch points, you're referring to texts and emails that you're sending out over the course of 3 weeks?
So text would go to new clients. They wouldn't go to people off the street that we don't have contact for, right? So people that we don't have contact for, um, we're running we start Facebook or some sort of digital campaign early, about a week or two before we start service. Service kicks off. We start seeing our trucks in the area. We start doing yard signs at that point. And you'll see behind me, the yard signs behind me, those are 11 by 11. So we came up with a strategy during COVID that we can't touch doorknobs. All right. You can't go near our house. Don't touch your package. Remember all those things that we had to do, right? So we said, well, we can't do door hangers. Let's do service notification yard signs. Well, then what happened with that is no one could go anywhere. Parks weren't open. So families were walking on the streets in their neighborhoods. And all of a sudden they're seeing, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So all of a sudden we got this like, who is oh dear? What is this happening? So we got a lot of volume off of yard signs. We still do. So we do keep them all small. I don't do a 12.5 by or 18 by 24, which most people do. I do smaller yard signs just to get the brand, which most people want yard signs for service, like tick and mosquito or tick control. I go after brand. So I'm reversed on that with a lot of folks. And then on top of, so we've got social media, we got service with trucks and yard signs. Then we jump into print media, whatever that print medium mobile would be, whether it's newspaper stickers, inserts in newspapers, direct mail, Valpak, whatever it might be, door hangers. And then we're sending out, so that's, what's that? One, I think that's 5. The next 2 are going to come from referrals. The touches are going to be that they're seeing at their friends and family house. They're going to a friend or family house. And then we also have we then have more digital that is off of Facebook. That's on websites. And then we're hopefully hitting them with text messages. Within that, we then throw emails and text message offers to our current clients to start referring. So, and then that just repeats for 3 weeks, just continues. And then it's a bell curve, right? We ramp up and then we start ramping down. We start pulling things off of that. Direct mail starts slowing down. Yard signs start slowing down. Our trucks don't. Our referral program will stop offering it because people have made the decision by the time school gets out. Direct mail stopped, and then digital, Google's still running, and Facebook, but we tailor Facebook off throughout the summer. So it's a pretty, because I've been doing it so long, it's a pretty basic, it's not a complex plan. We've done the TV, we've done the radio. Not the right thing for us. We got our return on some of it, but there's a lot of easy things that are not that expensive to do. And when I talk EDDM, that could be direct mail too, to make it a little bit more cost effective for volume, or for not cost effective for volume, but cost effective for hitting exact houses that you're going for.
So that's interesting. So when you first started, you guys kind of put all your eggs in one basket with the EDDM, and fortunately it worked out. But since then, you realized how important it is to be omnipresent. You've tried a lot of stuff over the years, and some of them stuck, some of them didn't. But at this point, you basically have a pretty good idea of what works, and you're just sticking to the basics and scaling up the basics, right?
Yeah, we'll scale it up. We'll do deep research into the clientele. So we do, deep research into our current clientele, into what their demographics are, what new neighborhoods are turning into better demographics. But I'll give you an example. Valpak, Valpak is one of those adder things. It's a lot of discounts, but it's an adder. It's not a main source. So one year I just did Valpak. Valpak hits once a month. So I can show spreadsheets of when Valpak hit, because our inquiries went up and then they dropped off a week later. And then there were 3 weeks of low, and then it went up and then it dropped down. It's not enough. It's great for consistent lead volume if you're in a one-off service type of thing, because you're gonna get leads consistently when that hits. But when I'm looking at mass growth and mass volume of quotes that we need to do, it just isn't the right fit for us unless it's an adder on and we're trying to get a better return to the same amount of people.
When you say Valpak, what exactly do you mean?
Yeah, so Valpak is a envelope program. They go to select homes within a demographic. You get there's about 30 or 40 coupons, like individual coupons within this envelope. The stats are, and these are not correct, but it's like over 80% that actually open it. So when we were the only people in it, it was cool. When there were 5 people in it, other mosquito companies, I was like, this is not worth it for me anymore. But you're able to, it's a discounted rate. I mean, you can get that price down. I know some people get it really low, but it's about 3 cents a house. So it's an inexpensive way to get in. And I mean, I still pull out Valpak. I open it up and I look through it. I like to see what's going on. But I'm in my focus is sales and marketing to grow my business. So I'm interested in how are other people marketing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you have multiple businesses, it definitely could be multiple of the same business model could definitely be harder to stand out. But like to your point earlier, you mentioned if you can really differentiate yourself and stand out, then I'm sure you could probably still get an ROI, but you don't know unless you test it. So it sounds like at first you guys tested it, it worked, and over time it started to be less efficient for you guys.
Yep. We also found that fitting into the norm, I don't have examples on my desk, but a normal postcard for ticks and mosquitoes is a family enjoying time outside. Just like fun-loving family just outside. We've got a postcard that has a tick and mosquito with a big X through it. We ran it for years. It worked great. Last year, we turned to this like fun-loving family, show them what they're going to get. Our return went down. So this year we went back to this. Like, I mean, it's not a beautiful postcard, but it gets the message across that you don't want ticks. O'Deer's here to help. Call us.
And that's another good point is what we think looks good doesn't necessarily matter. It's what the market likes and what the market responds to. So I'm sure like the new postcard you came up with probably looked way better in your eyes and to some people you shared it with, but the market clearly liked that original design more.
It looked better based off of what everyone else was doing. There are a lot of trends in the washing world that pull over to pest control and vice versa. It's like, man, you guys are really getting you guys are getting great feedback on a house with like, a clean house with like lines that say roof wash, window, screens, right? It's a very common one in the washing. And I'm like, people are getting good returns on this. They're showing them what they get. Why are we not showing them what they get? We did it. And we're like, oh, what the heck? It just didn't return the way I was hoping for it. So we said, well, let's go back to what's worked. We're not far enough into the season to know if it's working, the older postcard, but it's a worthwhile investment to continually test and modify. And if it doesn't work, then we say, okay, how are we going to make it better for next year? And I think that's, you mentioned earlier about like, we have the base of clients, we don't have to worry about the next. Our sales season's so short, we don't have to worry about we can retain them. Our sales season's so short, we're able to put all of our thought and theory into 12 to 16 weeks. Then after that, we can pull apart all of the good and the bad and then make the plan for the future. So when I look at like washing, I look at exterior services in general, there's pretty much a spring rush, and then school gets out and it flatlines. And then as school starts getting back in session, it starts picking up again. And in the summer, we just got through the spring rush. We're like, let's relax. Head to the beach, lake, we're going to go have some fun. That's where as business owners, we should be focusing on working on the business and that marketing plan for the next sales season. And we should be spending the time on how do we ramp up? How do we take that data and make it better? Because we have 3 to 4 months of good data that we can now apply to the fall and then get another big push in the fall. Understand your cycles in a business. And once you understand the cycles, you can plan for the cycles.
Yeah. And with pressure washing, I mean, exactly like what you're saying is it is seasonal. There are definitely times of the year where it's much busier than others. And some people, once it is that busy time, like they don't really change what they're doing. They're not putting much focus on marketing and sales, not any more than they were prior. So what you guys are saying is once it's go time, like you guys are all in on marketing and sales. And when it's not, you're more so kind of just reconsolidating and strategizing for the next go time.
Yeah, and when we get busy, we do not pull off of sale. Like we do not pull off. When our capacity is at max, we don't pull off. When it's a down, like we know the seasonality of when there's a down, like when there's a downturn, most people say, you know, when there's a downturn in the economy, most people will say, oh, I'm going to pull back on marketing. That's the best time to push forward. But there's a bell curve in home services where if you advertise, if you spend a boatload of money on July 4th, it probably won't make you a boatload of money July and August. You have to know when to spend that money. But you can't, oh man, I'm 3 weeks out on service. I'm going to slow down my marketing. No. Go buy a truck. Go hire someone. Get the heck off the truck and replace yourself. So then you can make your scheduling more effective. And you can go spend time finding that vehicle or equipment. But, oh man, we're just so booked out. Go find a truck. You can go rent a truck too. Like that is possible. You can rent a truck, throw a sprayer in the back of it, and make it happen.
I hear crazy stories of people being booked 2, 3 months out in advance, and they think they're bragging by sharing that, but it's such a bad business move because some people might be impatient and they'll just go with another company, or you could literally double your output and double your revenue, double everything by just getting a second truck.
I want a service within 3 business days. If we can't do that, there's a problem. So it's the same. It's the same thing. I don't want yeah, it's cool. Like I don't need to advertise. If I didn't want to, I'd maintain roughly what we did last year in revenue. It doesn't really excite me. I want to say, okay, that's what we have. Now how do we go and fill out capacity and just start scaling again?
Yeah, and what you're saying is it's a really good point because when you look at a lot of pressure washing businesses on a smaller scale, they are booked, a week, 2 weeks in advance. They hear you say, service within 3 days. They laugh. They think that's not possible. But a lot of the guys with larger businesses that I've been speaking to, they're running, dozens of trucks, multi-million-dollar operations, and they're doing next day service. And that makes them stand out a ton because most people, when they're ready to buy the service, they're ready for the service. They don't want to wait weeks to get it.
No, and folks might say, oh, like we're scheduling next week. Okay, that's fine. If someone's calling on a Wednesday and they're partying on a Saturday, I do everything to get them done. But that can be really hard if it's a full day job. You're now taking your entire crew and pushing, that can be really difficult. But I mean, we're running between my two O'Deer locations, we're running, I think it's like 28 vehicles. So we're moving some pieces around, and we get caught sometimes where it's like, oh, rain caught up to us. We gotta reschedule this. How are we gotta talk to our crews to make it a little. We're gonna have to work Saturday. We're gonna have to work a couple extra hours. But there's a point in the capacity that can get very uncomfortable, where we have 2 trucks running. We're booked out 3 to 4 weeks. And it's been like this for 2 to 3 years where we're just, during that rush, we're always booked out 3 to 4 weeks. And then we say, we want to get out of the truck. We're going to add a third vehicle. You add the third vehicle and now you're only booked out 10 days, a week and a half. And you're consistently booked a week and a half. But every week you're sitting there going, I only have a week and a half on the schedule. But all of a sudden you're making more money because your capacity's gone up. So what you've done is you've taken those 3 weeks and put them into another vehicle, but you haven't increased the amount of leads, but you're able to get things done faster. So you're maintaining a week and a half, but you're used to 3 to 4 weeks out. So there's this uneasy feeling of the world's going to end and I have too many people. And what am I going to do? I'm going to run out of money. And I saw this happen last year. And when we looked back at it, we noticed this gentleman made more money over the entire year, but it was a new uncomfortable feeling for him. But he was at the right capacity. He had the right amount of employees. He didn't get a lot of no's based off of time. But that's a big jump. If you're used to having 3 to 4 weeks out and to only be a week and a half out from here on out, it could be an oh shit moment. And think about having that for 12, 13, 30 weeks. It's like, ooh. So there's got to be a mindset change.
Yeah, and I'm also just from like a selling point, you're probably closing at, let's just say it was only 3 or 4% more by being able to service jobs so quickly compared to other companies that might take a bit longer. That small percentage might not seem like much, but on such a large scale, that could be tens of thousands of dollars more you're making per year just from that simple fact alone.
Correct. Correct.
That's great. So hopefully for anyone watching, they realize how important one, that relationship building, that, very close personal relationship with your customers is, and going out of your way just to do those extra little favors, make them happy and enjoy working with you. But also if you can be efficient, not wait weeks to be able to book someone, but be able to get someone next day if possible, which for most people that is possible if you have enough, trucks and you're able to handle that capacity. It's not very hard. It's not rocket science. It just most people aren't willing to do that.
Here's something that I started with, and it's from when I used to work in a family business. Is if we can get something done today, it increases capacity for tomorrow. So if we start the day with $1,000 on the books, and at noon we find out we can do a $300 job at 4 o'clock, if you have the time and you're able to go do the $300 job at 4 o'clock, don't put it on for tomorrow or 3 days later. Get it done now, because if we get it done today, we can make more money tomorrow. But if you put it on for 3 weeks from now and that person drops off, you missed the $300 from that original day and you now have a gap in your schedule. You're now down $600. I'd rather do something today so I can make more money tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of people will say, you know what, I don't have a job tomorrow. Let's just wait till tomorrow to do it so I have guaranteed work. But, something could happen from now till tomorrow. Or, they could have gotten another job that could have been done tomorrow and this one could have been done today. So just by switching your mindset, get it done as soon as possible, while obviously still, not overdoing it, not overworking yourself, and still being efficient, then the customer is going to be happier. You're going to be able to handle more work, and it's just better in every way.
Yeah. Someone asked me to have a meeting. Why don't we just do it now? If I don't have anything to do and there's nothing pressing, why don't we just get it done now? So then we can make a decision, we can move on. Rather than let's set something for next Monday. It's like, now I got to wait all until Monday. Monday rolls around, I'm like, why are we having this meeting? Just doesn't, let's get it done today.
Clearly, you guys have been doing a great job at speed. So at this point, I don't think I asked this earlier, but I'm also curious because we spoke about this on our previous call. Right now, you said you have, 28 trucks?
About, yeah, somewhere. It's awful that I don't know the exact, but it's around there.
I mean, it's super impressive. It'd be hard to keep up with those numbers. But what are you guys currently seeing roughly in revenue?
Yeah, so we have a run rate for this year for O'Deere, South Shore, about 4 million, just over 4 million. Our goal is 5. So our goal for the last 3 years has been at $1 million in revenue a year. It hasn't always happened, but the goal is. Cape Cod's about 500. Goal is to go about 660, and then Pet Waste Management, Go Scoopers. Run rate right now around 230. The goal is to get that up to about 300. We started the year at 150 or 175, so we've had a pretty good spring rush on that. And we set our goals high on everything. My goal is to meet our excessive goal and exceed it, which means raise your goals. But we've also run into years where we don't hit our goal. And you have to be planning and budgeting for you don't hit your goal, what do you do? But you also need the staff and the equipment and the infrastructure to be able to hit that goal. And I don't like to have extra staff. I found that out in the last 2 years. It's just not worth having them. I'd rather have a piece of equipment that's extra because I can hire more staff to go do it. But with every system we have, we want to make sure that if anything happens to anyone, the bus factor is not one. So if someone gets hit by a bus, will the business continue? And it should be yes. And that hit us hard in 2023, January, where I had a family emergency. It is now resolved and everyone is happy and healthy now. But it was a family emergency that pulled me out of my business for 45 days. And I had to notify my general manager the day after it happened. I'm not in Utah. I'm in a hospital with a family member. I am out of commission for the foreseeable future. And the response was, focus on your family. I've got it. I'll onboard. I'll do everything. We've got it. About a week later, we then revealed to the family what was going on. And, I revealed to my team what was going on and how we were going to make it through it. And they all surrounded me. And they said, no problem, focus on your family, you're good to go. But without those systems and team members that we put into place from 2020 to 2023, it would have been rough. I wouldn't have been, when I look back, I probably shouldn't even been working until probably May or June, but I went right back to work 2 weeks later at a reduced schedule. And there are good and bad things. You know, I learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about our family, learned a lot about our business. Did the business spend too much money? 100%. Did we hire too many people? 100%. Was it under the direction of me of we're hitting this huge revenue mark? Yes. But when we saw there was an issue on the revenue, on the sales, and on the employees, we started to remanage everything. We didn't pull back our marketing. We kept that going. But we, said, do we really need this hire? Do we really need this software? Do we really need this? And by April 15th, we started to make changes fast and quick to put us up to have a successful year. We still grew. We didn't hit our revenue goal, but it lined us up to find all the pitfalls in our business. And then in 2023, it was just fill the voids, and make it so if it happens again, which I hope it doesn't, we can be more successful. And it's led to me going from, I work 40 hours a week, right? We all say that. You actually work 80. Let's be real. For 2023, I worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's changed a little bit now, but it's still, if I need to go be with my family, I'm gone. And my business is still running and operating. So it was a big learning lesson to me, but you need to, when you're looking at your business, you need to figure out a way to get out of your own way and put people in charge of tasks. So if something happens to you and you can't be there, the business will survive because your family is counting on that business to survive.
Wow. That must have been, a great learning experience, also super stressful. I'm sure it was super hard, but it would have been so much more stressful if you didn't have the business that you had. And a lot of people don't have that business structure where they can, leave for even just a day. Like if they do, then the business stops growing. It needs them to survive. So the fact that you were able to take all that time off, do what you need to do, take care of your family, and come back and the business was still, it was still alive, it was still growing. Hopefully that's a wake-up call for everybody listening to think, if worst case scenario, something happened to you and you are now out of order for, even just a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is your business going to grow or is it going to die?
Yeah, and we had scares early on in the business when you're when you're two trucks, and like you can't waste a dollar. And we had employee emergencies where we lost employees for 2 to 3 weeks. You then have to have a good network. You have to know who can help out. How do you reposition? How do you recast? What you as the owner need to jump back in and start doing. So my experience at my higher level 2023 was a big one. It was a scary one. The lower level was, okay, we can make this happen. Broken ankle, something like that. We can still make this happen. But how am I going to do it? And some of those emergencies, things that we can't control that happen to us, they actually show us where we need to start filling and where we need to really start improving our business and our life.
100%. That was amazing. Like everything you shared today was awesome. And I'm super glad to hear through what you guys have been through. You guys have built this amazing business and you guys are crushing it. Very aggressive goals, but it seems like you guys are doing a great job at keeping up with those aggressive goals. So I know it's a different business model, definitely different for the people that are watching this compared to what they've seen in the past, but still super valuable. And hopefully, everyone that was watching this got a lot of insight from it. But with that being said, David, I know we're down in the wire now. If anyone wants to learn a bit more about you, your businesses, and just kind of connect with you online, where could they learn a bit more about you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, David Mulcahy. Recurringdave.com is another way that you can also reach me. But those are, reach out, Facebook Messenger, connect with Michael. You've got my contact. I'm more than happy to, set up a time and, talk to folks. I love hearing different scenarios and seeing how do you solve them. I'm someone that needs to hear of a scenario, hear of a problem, and the answer might not come to me. It might be when I'm in the shower or working out, where I'm like, man, what if this happened? Um, so some people, if they have the answer right away, it's not the best answer. It depends is a better answer. So no answer from me sometimes is actually beneficial because I can pop out a scenario later. So Facebook, recurringdave.com are the best ways. I also have my link tree. I might be able to send you my link tree for you to be able to put it into the show notes, that type of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, once again, David, thank you for hopping on. This was super valuable.
Excellent. I appreciate it, man.